Yet, even in weakness, he pressed on. He travelled to Treachi, Merthyr, Tydfil, Pontypridd, and more, speaking as strength allowed. When too weary to stand, he would sit and weep, and still the Spirit would move. Sometimes he said only a sentence or two, and revival broke out. It wasn't the man, it was the mantle. People weren't coming for Evan Roberts. They were coming for God. And in those days, God was near. By early 1905, the revival had swept through almost every corner of Wales. The sound of worship was as common as the morning bell. Schedules were changed, lives were reordered, eternity had broken into time. A nation once cold had been set ablaze, and in the center of it all stood a humble, praying man, still trembling, still surrendered, still pointing every soul upward. As the fires of awakening swept across Wales, Evan Roberts found himself at the center of something far greater than he had ever imagined and far heavier than most realized. Night after night, town after town, he poured out everything he had, his voice, his tears, his strength. He gave it all. But behind the scenes, the weight was beginning to crush him. To the public, Evan was a spiritual giant, but in secret, he was bleeding. The very thing he had prayed for, fasted for, wept over, had now arrived. Yet instead of joy, his soul was pierced with sorrow, not because he doubted the move of God, but because he carried it so deeply. Every soul that rejected the call, every heart that resisted the Spirit, every moment of pride or distraction in the meetings grieved him to his core. He didn't take revival lightly. To Evan, it wasn't a phenomenon. It was holy, sacred. And to mishandle it felt like betrayal. He began to withdraw emotionally. Though surrounded by thousands, he often felt alone. When people shouted his name or tried to place him on a pedestal, he would recoil. He hadn't asked for recognition, he had asked for repentance. But now the press called him the young Elijah. Others labeled him the revivalist prophet. Some even whispered that he was divinely chosen, almost angelic. And Evan was crushed by it. He never sought to be known, and yet he couldn't escape the spotlight. Letters arrived by the hundreds. People lined the streets hoping to speak with him. Even his time with God was interrupted by relentless demands. Worse still, criticism began to rise. Not everyone embraced the revival. Some ministers were offended by the lack of traditional structure. Others accused Evan of fanaticism, suggesting he stirred up emotionalism rather